Okay, it looks like I am live. Yay. Okay, so I am doing something, it's really impromptu. I have been talking to a lot of people. I've been doing some interviews on radio and TV about the updates to the Ontario's health and physical education curriculum, specifically the sex education updates. And I've been saying to people repeatedly that I've been encouraging them to read the curriculum so that they know what it's about, so they can make informed decisions. And I'm getting the sense from listening to people talking that they are not reading the curriculum. And I was finding this a little frustrating, but I realized that maybe it's because the curriculum is actually a really long document. It's not just sex education, it's all of health and physical education. So just the grade 1 through 8 curriculum is about 225 pages. That's a lot for people to go through, and I get it. So what I thought that I would do, since I have read the curriculum, is that I would go through and I would read it for people. So I'm not going to read the entire thing because nobody wants to hear me read 220 something pages of anything, but I am going to go through and I am going to read the parts that specifically deal with sexuality education. So I am a sexuality educator. I'm a parent, and I have my own feelings about this curriculum. And I know that my feelings are not everybody else's feelings. I'm not trying to tell anybody what their values should be around this. I'm not telling anybody how they need to feel about this, although I do have opinions and I've expressed them in other places. But I do believe strongly in 3 things around sexuality education. I think that when we're educating ourselves and when we're educating our families and our children, we need to own our values, which I know people are doing. But I also think it's really important to know your facts and to avoid the myths. And so I've been hearing a lot of myths circulating, as I said. And so I want people to have the facts. So as you can see, this is the Ontario curriculum, grades 1 through 8 for health and physical education. I'm only going to be doing grades 1 through 8 because I think that's where people have the most concern. If anyone wants me to do grades 9 through 12, I can do that another day. Just shoot me an email through my website and let me know. This is also going to be on YouTube, so you can send me a comment on YouTube if you want to do that, or if you're on my Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and you want me to do the follow-up for high school, I'm happy to do that. But for right now, like I said, this is impromptu. I'm just randomly deciding to do this after I have lunch. I'm just going to do 1 through 8. Okay? So I'm going to attempt to just read this without making any commentary. I apologize. The lighting is weird. It happens when it's impromptu. All right, so let's dive in. So before we get into the actual curriculum, and I also apologize for the noise, trees are being cut outside my house. Before we get into the actual curriculum, there is a preamble where they address the parents. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if people want to read it, it's page 13 of the document. And it says this about parents. Parents play an important role in their children's learning. Studies show that students perform better in school if their parents are involved in their education. By becoming familiar with the curriculum, parents can better appreciate what is being taught in each grade and what their children are expected to learn. This awareness will enhance parents' ability to discuss their children's work with them, to communicate with teachers, and to ask relevant questions about their children's progress. It also says, parents are the primary educators of their children with respect to learning about values, appropriate behavior, and ethno-cultural, spiritual, and personal beliefs and traditions, and they are their children's first role models. All right, so let's dive in. So like I said, there's an entire curriculum around this. It isn't just about sex education, but those are the bits I'm going to focus on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading the overall learning goals for the students, and I'll also be reading teacher prompts. So teacher prompts are just examples of what teachers might be saying in the classroom. They're not verbatim instructions for the teachers. So in grade 1, goal, identify body parts including genitalia. Examples, penis, testicles, vagina, vulva, using correct terminology. The teacher prompt is, we talk about all body parts with respect. Why is it important to know about your own body and use the correct names for the parts of your body? And that's it for grade 1. In grade 2, outline the basic stages of human development. For example, infant, child, adolescent, adult, older adult, and related bodily changes, and identify factors that are important for healthy growth and living throughout life. And the teacher prompt is, how does your body change as you grow? What helps you grow and be healthy? And there's a second teacher prompt which says, when we look at growth and change throughout life, we can consider teachings from different cultures, including First Nations, Métis, and Inuit cultures about the cycles of birth, life, and death. Different First Nations have different teachings and ceremonies for each life stage and about growing and changes in roles and responsibilities at each stage. For example, the Anishinaabe, I hope I pronounced that correctly, people teach about 7 stages of life and believe that at each stage, learning traditional teachings such as 7 grandfather teachings from family, community, and elders contributes to healthy growth and living. And that is grade 2. So now we're going to go on to grade 3. Describe how visible differences, for example, skin, hair, and eye color, facial features, body size and shape, physical aids or different physical abilities, clothing, possession, and invisible differences, for example, learning abilities, skills and talents, personal or cultural values and beliefs, gender identity, sexual orientation, family background, personal preference, allergies and sensitivities, make each person unique and identify ways of showing respect for differences in others. A teacher prompt for this is, sometimes we are different in ways you can see. Sometimes we are different in ways you cannot see, such as how we learn, what we think, and what we are able to do. Give me some examples of things that make each person unique. A second teacher prompt is, how can you be a role model and show respect for differences in other people? And that is grade 3. Grade 4. Describe the physical changes that occur in males and females at puberty. For example, growth of body hair, breast development, changes in voice and body size, production of body odor, and skin changes, and the emotional and social impacts that may result from these changes. And the teacher prompt is, during puberty, the male and female bodies undergo many changes. Everyone experiences these changes at different rates and at different times. Increases in weight and body fat are normal. Sometimes it is difficult getting used to the changes that are happening so quickly. Feelings can be much more intense. What are some of the feelings you might have as you start to experience the changes with puberty? A second teacher prompt, what can change socially as you start to develop physically? And another teacher prompt, some cultures have traditions associated with puberty that mark the transition from childhood to adulthood. Can you give me some examples of these? And then there is a second component in grade 4 for human development and sexual health. Demonstrate an understanding of personal care needs and the application of personal hygienic practices associated with the onset of puberty. For example, increased importance of regular bathing and showering, and regular clothing changes, use of hygiene products, continuing importance of regular hygiene practices, including hand washing, oral health care, and care of prosthetic devices and residual limbs. And the teacher prompt is, why is it important to shower and change clothes more often as you approach puberty? What other things do you need to think about? All right, and that is grade 4. Now we're moving into grade 5, and as we get into the higher grades, the lessons become a little bit more enriched. There's a little bit more to them. So grade 5, human development and sexual health, learning goal. Identify the parts of the reproductive system and describe how the body changes during puberty. A teacher prompt, female body parts that mature and develop as a part of puberty include the vagina, cervix, uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, endometrium, and clitoris. Male body parts that mature and develop during puberty include the penis, with or without the foreskin, scrotum, urethra, testicles, prostate gland, seminal vesicles, and vas deferens. These changes occur as people become capable of reproduction. What are some of the physical changes that happen during puberty? Second part of the lesson is describe the process of menstruation, which is having your period, and spermatogenesis, which is when the testicles start to produce sperm. And explain how these processes can relate to reproduction and overall development. So here's the teacher prompt. Menstruation is the medical term for having a period, and it is the monthly flow of blood from the uterus. This begins at puberty. Not all girls begin menstruation at the same age. Generally, every month, an egg leaves one of the ovaries and travels down one of the fallopian tubes towards the uterus. In preparation, the walls of the uterus develop a lining of blood and tissue to act as a cushion for the egg in case fertilization occurs. When an egg is fertilized, it attaches itself to the lining of the uterus and begins to develop into a baby. If fertilization does not occur, the lining of the uterus is no longer needed and is discharged through the vagina. This is the monthly flow of blood. This whole process is called the menstrual cycle. Can you summarize its purpose? And then the second teacher prompt is, the testicles are glands within the scrotum that produce sperm and hormones beginning at puberty. After sperm develops in the testicles, it can travel through the epididymis until it reaches the vas deferens, where it is stored until ejaculation occurs. During ejaculation, the prostate gland releases a liquid that mixes with the sperm from the vas deferens to make semen, which then leaves the body through the urethra leaves the body through the urethra. Fertilization can occur when the penis is in the vagina, sperm is ejaculated, and the sperm and egg connect. Babies can also be conceived by having the sperm and egg connect using assisted reproductive technologies. What is the purpose of sperm production? And then a final prompt in this lesson is, we've described what menstruation and spermatogenesis mean from a physical point of view. How do these changes affect you in other ways? All right, so also in grade 5, under human development and sexual health, describe emotional and interpersonal stresses related to puberty. For example, questions about changing bodies and feelings, adjusting to changing relationships, crushes and more intense feelings, conflicts between personal desires and cultural teachings and practices. And identify strategies that students can apply to manage stress, build resilience, and enhance their mental health and emotional well-being. For example, being active, writing feelings in a journal, accessing information about their concerns, taking action on a concern, talking to a trusted peer or adult, breathing deeply, meditating, seeking cultural advice from elders. Here's a teacher prompt. Think about some things that could lead to stress for adolescents. For example, as they grow, people sometimes feel self-conscious about their bodies. But we all grow at different rates, and you can't control how fast you grow. When you think about how to respond to stress, consider what is within your control and what is not. Pardon me, sticky fingers. Another prompt. It is normal to have stress and to have different feelings, including being happy, sad, angry, and excited at different times. Part of taking care of your mental health and emotional well-being is learning to be aware and to monitor your own feelings. How do you know if you need help with your feelings? And finally, another teacher prompt. As you enter adolescence, you may begin to develop new kinds of relationships and new feelings that you have not had before. Your relationships with your peers can become more stressful. Understanding how to respond to these new feelings and situations can reduce some of the stress that goes with them. For example, if you feel like you like someone in a special way, what are some appropriate ways of sharing that information with someone else, and what ways are inappropriate? All right, and so that's everything for grade 5. So moving on to grade 6. So a learning goal. Describe how students can build confidence and lay a foundation for healthy relationships by acquiring a clearer understanding of the physical, social, and emotional changes that occur during adolescence. For example, physical changes are voice changes, skin changes, and body growth. Social changes are changing social relationships, the increasing influence of peers, and emotional changes may include increased intensity of feelings, a new interest in relationships with boys or girls, confusions, or questions about changes. So a teacher prompt is, by getting questions answered and understanding that questions and changes are normal, adolescents will be better equipped to understand themselves, relate to others, respond to challenges and changes in relationships, and build confidence. What are some questions that young people might have as changes happen during puberty and adolescence? And the second prompt is, things like wet dreams or vaginal lubrication are normal and happen as a result of physical changes with puberty. Exploring one's body by touching or masturbating is something that many people do and find pleasurable. It is common and it is not harmful, and it is one way of learning about your body. All right, also in grade 6, a learning goal, assess the effects of stereotypes, including homophobia and assumptions regarding gender roles and expectations, sexual orientation, gender expression, race, ethnicity, or culture, mental health, and abilities on an individual's self-concept, social inclusion, and relationships with others, and propose appropriate ways of responding to and changing assumptions and stereotypes. So the teacher prompt here is, can you give examples of some stereotypes that might have a negative effect on a person's self-concept and social inclusion? What can we do to change stereotypes and discrimination? And then another prompt is, assumptions are often made about what is normal or expected for males and females. For example, men take out the garbage, nursing is a woman's job, boys play soccer, girls skip rope or stand around and talk, boys are good at weightlifting and girls are good at dancing. Assumptions like these are usually untrue and they can be harmful. They can make people who do not fit into the expected norms feel confused or bad about themselves, damaging their self-concept, and they can cause people to discriminate against and exclude those who are seen as different. Assumptions about different sexual orientations or people with learning disabilities or mental illnesses or about people from other cultures are harmful in similar ways. Everyone needs to feel accepted in school and in the community. Why do you think these stereotypes, or why do you think these stereotyped assumptions occur? What can be done to change or challenge them? And a couple more teacher prompts on this lesson. What are some ways of protecting your safety when using a computer at home or in a public space? And finally, sexting, or the practice of sending explicit sexual messages or photos electronically, predominantly by cell phone, is a practice that has significant risks. What are some of those risks? What can you do to minimize those risks and treat others with respect? All right. Oh, actually, you know what? I apologize. So the sexting, I believe, was actually in grade 7. So the computers and the sexting is grade 7. So we're in grade 7 now. I apologize. All right, so we're still in grade 7 now. So another learning goal is explain the importance of having a shared understanding with a partner about the following. Delaying sexual activity until they are older. For example, choosing to abstain from any genital contact, choosing to abstain from having vaginal or anal intercourse, choosing to abstain from having oral genital contact. The reasons for not engaging in sexual activity, the concept of consent and how consent is communicated, and in general, the need to communicate clearly with each other when making decisions about sexual activity in the relationship. And the teacher prompt here is, the term abstinence can mean different things to different people. People can also have different understandings of what is meant by having or not having sex. Be clear in your own mind about what you are comfortable and uncomfortable with. Being able to talk about this with a partner is an important part of sexual health. Having sex can be an enjoyable experience and can be an important part of a close relationship when you are older. But having sex has risks too, including physical risks like sexually transmitted infections, which are common and which can hurt you, and getting pregnant when you don't want to. And what are some of the emotional considerations to think about? So another learning goal is to identify common sexually transmitted infections and describe their symptoms. So teacher prompt is, common sexually transmitted infections include human papillomavirus, or HPV, herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and hepatitis B. Some have visible symptoms, but most do not, so it's hard to tell if you or someone else has an STI. All STIs can have a significant impact on your health. What are some symptoms of an STI? And if an STI has no symptoms, how can you find out if you have it? Another learning goal is to identify ways of preventing STIs, or sexually transmitted infections, including HIV and/or unintended pregnancy, such as delaying first intercourse and other sexual activities until a person is older, and using condoms consistently if and when a person becomes sexually active. And the teacher prompt here is, engaging in sexual activities like oral sex, vaginal intercourse, and anal intercourse mean that you can be infected with an STI. If you do not have sex, you do not need to worry about getting an STI. And by the way, statistics show that young people who delay first intercourse are more likely to use protection when they choose to be sexually active. If a person is thinking of having sex, what can they do to protect themselves? And then finally, there's a teacher prompt around HIV/AIDS. The HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, is a serious viral infection that can be controlled with treatments. HIV attacks the cells in the body that help to fight infections until they are no longer able to do their job. With treatment, the damage that HIV does to the body's immune system can be slowed or prevented, but HIV infection cannot be cured. The only way to know if you have HIV is to get an HIV test. Today, when people get tested for HIV early in the infection and have access to HIV treatments, they have the opportunity to live a near to normal lifespan. HIV can lead to AIDS, which is acquired immune deficiency syndrome, a state of health in which a person's immune system has been weakened by HIV and the person can no longer fight off other infections. It is common for a person with AIDS to develop other infections such as pneumonia or some kinds of cancer. HIV can be transmitted whether or not someone has symptoms of the infection. However, HIV treatment can reduce the amount of HIV in someone's body to the point where it is much less likely that HIV will be transmitted. HIV transmission results from specific activities and does not occur through everyday contact with someone living with HIV or AIDS. What are some of the ways a person can be infected with HIV, and what can be done to prevent the transmission of HIV? So that is grade 7. Oh, we're still in grade 7. See, I told you it gets more intense in the higher grades. All right, so another learning goal for human development and sexual health in grade 7. Demonstrate an understanding of physical, emotional, social, and psychological factors that need to be considered when making decisions related to sexual health. For example, sexually transmitted infections, possible contraceptive side effects, pregnancy, protective value of vaccinations, social labeling, gender identity, sexual orientation, self-concept issues, relationships, desire, pleasure, and cultural teachings. Here are some teacher prompts. Thinking about your sexual health is complicated. It's important to have a good understanding of yourself before getting involved with someone else. It's not just about making a decision to have sex or waiting until you are older. It's also about things such as your physical readiness, safer sex, and avoiding consequences such as pregnancy or STIs. Your sexual orientation and your gender identity, your understandings of your own body, including what gives you pleasure, and the emotional implications of sexual intimacy and being in a relationship. It can include religious beliefs. It includes moral and ethical considerations as well, and involves the need to respect the rights of other people. Can you explain what is meant by a moral consideration? Another prompt. Like any other decision, a decision about sexual health requires you to look at all sides of an issue. Can you do that? All right, and that is those are the sexual components of the updated health and physical education curriculum for the province of Ontario. So if you haven't had a chance to read it yourself, I hope that this was helpful. And so I'm going to be concluding the live broadcast now, but this is also going to be over on my YouTube channel. So I will be posting links to that on all my social media. And if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description box below, I'm going to post a link to the curriculum if you want to read it yourself online. There are lots of all kinds of lessons in there that have to do with obviously physical health, physical activity, mental health, all sorts of other things. And yes, as I said, if you have any questions or you want to get in touch with me, I am at NadineThornhill.com. Just click on contacts and there's a little form you can fill out, and that will send me an email, and I'm happy to talk with you. And yes, if you would like me to do grades 9 through 12, please let me know that as well. But in the meantime, I hope this is helpful for some people. And as always, stay informed, stay safe, stay healthy, have fun. Take care. Thanks. Bye.